Hello, everybody. I know I've been quiet lately. I know I haven't been posting as much as I would like, or that I generally post. I know I said that I would be posting weekly, but um, a lot of things have been going on lately that have um, more or less drawn my attention elsewhere. Um, and one of them, if some of you don't already know, I've been remodeling a house or aiding in remodeling a home and uh, both exterior and interior. Um, I mean, it's not something it's not like I haven't remodeled homes before. I've flipped houses before. Um, I mean, I'm a contract house flipper and a contracted landscaper too. Jesus Christ. Get the fuck out of here, motherfucker, and slow the fuck down, goddamn. There are pets all around here. Jesus. Freaking people. Um, what was I saying? Oh yeah. I mean, as I was saying, like I've flipped houses before. I've done it for a freaking living before, and but this house actually, it's this big piece of shit. Um, um, this is my contractor's granddad's property and whatnot, and so this one's personal. Like we're not doing this for work. This is completely separated from work. Sorry about that. That was that's one of my neighbors. He's a truck driver, and he always honks his horn and waves at me when I'm sitting out on the porch. Um, but we've flipped houses before. It's nothing new for us to do or anything. It's just that this one, due to because it's a family home, and it's my contractor's differently that we normally would. Normally, we could get a property done, or the way we would do it in the past. Excuse me, is that we could be done in less than a month, right? Um, it was a net 10 contract, and we would have up to like a month or so to get each house done. So we weren't being pressed for it at the time when we had that contract. And for those who don't know what a net 10 contract um, it's just that means we get paid every 10 days. Um, is pretty much what that means. And then you got your net 30 contracts, which they say, are you supposed to get paid every 30 days? No, we get paid every 2 months for freaking property. Because at least that's the contract we have now. Our I left that contract because the money wasn't worth what I was doing. Um, but back to what I was saying with this house, it's just that with this one being a family home, I'm a family friend, so like we're taking our sweet time with it, and like today uh, we had already a while back. The day we brought in a second load of cabinets that are actually oak cabinets, like oak wood. Like this is not artificial oak. This is 100% oak, and it's a lot heavier. For those who don't haven't had to deal with carrying freaking any sort of true oak pieces of furniture. So the old set of cabinetry we're going to sell off because we're not going to use it. Um, and but we're repainting this house. Obviously, I don't know if you look back at one of my older videos a couple of months back. This is not the original color, like right here. It's white, and most people think, "Oh, this is black right here, right?" Where my finger is, right where the screen door is. That's actually gray iron ore paint. That's not black, or yeah, it's gray iron ore paint. So it's not actual black paint. It's iron ore paint colored, and it looks a lot better. Um, but also we had to rip out old cabinets. We're trying to also clean the house out, get all the trash out, rip out the old flooring, clean stuff, rip out old cabinet, trying to repair the walls and everything because there's a bunch of holes in the walls that need to be patched up. Um, talking there are sections of sheet rock mission. I'm talking you know you know this stuff that you have to get sheetrock for. Like we had to actually go out and buy sheetrock for it because it's not a 2-inch patch repair. Um, so this property has been taking up a lot of our time, and I'm also having to do a bunch of other exterior projects. And anybody that lives in the Austin and Bastrop area, um, if you want any firewood or any scrap metal that you want to buy off and repurpose or whatever, leave a comment down below because I got a buttload of it. But um, um, right now it's just that we're dealing with that and my contractor. I call him granddad. It's my grand contractor's buddy's grandfather, but grandpa hasn't been doing well with his health lately. His health has been kind of up and down the last few weeks, couple of months, really. Um, and I'm not going to go into much detail about it, but we suspect we know the cause behind what has caused him to have health issues. I'm not going to say that what we think has been causing health problems is the reason behind it, um, because we. All right, hurry up! Quit being a weirdo, guy. God, freaking people drive way too fast past this house. They creep behind my house. So I'm like, dude, I can freaking. Especially if I'm sitting outside, I'm like, dude, don't try nothing. I can see you. Um, but um, it's just been real stressful lately because I'm also dealing with the car. So an update on my car, by the way, for those who don't, I know I haven't posted about my car. I think I touched on it lightly in my last video that I did, but I can't remember. But anyways, there has been some changes to the car since my last video a couple of weeks ago. And to everybody that did watch I've been watching my last videos, I appreciate it. Um, So, as I think I mentioned this in my last video, but I'll re-mention it. A couple of months ago, back actually, not just a couple of months ago, it was like 6 months ago. Back in April of this year, I had to schedule an appointment for my car because I was starting to have something going on with my car, and I couldn't figure out what. Didn't want to do it because I just didn't know where it was, and I just didn't want to, cause the airbags to deploy and total the vehicle. So I had called my dealership in Austin. I was like, hey, I need a diagnostic run on my car. They're like, well, it's going to take 2 weeks. I'm like, okay, are you going to have the car for 2 weeks or can I bring it back in 2 weeks? They're like, no, it's going to have to be here on site for 2 weeks. And I was like, that's completely unacceptable. And so I wound up calling a Kia dealership in San Antonio, World Car Kia in San Antonio. For those who are in the San Antonio area who have a Kia, it's called World Car Kia and Fort Sam Houston. Give or take for 15, 20 minutes. Um, so I went over there. I called them up, and they were like, I was like, hey, and I gave them a rundown of what's going on. They're like, hey, let's schedule you an appointment. I was like, hey, can we schedule it for the 29th of April? They're like, sure. And so, I gave them because this was a new dealership that I was going to, that I had never used before. They were getting my information from my personal information because they wanted to find my car, find the service record on it, and everything else. And um, um, I get, I gave them the information, and they're like, "Oh, by the way, Mr. Hart, you have two safety recalls open on your car, two active safety recalls, right?" I was like, okay, weird. I haven't been notified about this. At this, you got to realize, up until this point, I didn't know I had 2 active safety recalls on my car. Excuse me. So I was like, okay, what are they? They're like, well, one of them is the anti-theft software had to be updated, and the other one was for the brake light. And come to find out, due because I'm in a southern state, the sorry about that. I have to take my glasses off. There's too much of a glare. Can't really. Like, well, do you live in a southern state? You don't need to worry about the brakes. I was like, what do you mean? They're like, what we have to do for the brakes is really for northern states. I was like, okay, makes sense, right? And so they're like, well, you need to get this done. So I called my dealership in Austin because we're supposed to have notified me. I was like, hey, why there are 2 safety recalls and y'all did not tell me? Or what do you mean? I'm like, dude, I have 2 active recalls in my car and you haven't notified me. What the F? And so I was like, I'm bringing my car in first thing Saturday morning, and you better freaking deal with it, because I was like, at this point, I was just done with their butts. And by the way, this is the same dealership that has lost my service. Permanently, mind you. So I took it in Saturday morning, that Saturday, and a couple of days before my appointment in San Antonio for my car. And they took care of the software update, which I don't even know why. It was like, I really didn't need to update. And they didn't do it's still, hell, this brake lane recall is going to be an active recall until I go to another state with my car. Anyways, so I took my car down, and after that, within 48 to 72 hours of me doing the safety recalls on my car, my car started to act up. And when I say act up, it wouldn't start without a jump box. And luckily, I had a jump box it's a DeWalt jump box, and it has an air compressor attachment to it. I don't use the air compressor on this thing because I have an air compressor that works a lot better, that I just plug into the car, and it's a Husky, and I love it. The air compressor that I do have is a Husky brand. I'm not sponsored by Husky or DeWalt in this video, like all my other videos. And it was about 300, I think, like $250 or $300 after taxes for the jump box, which is a steal deal. It's a really good deal, and it happened to be the last one at the Home Depot that I went to for it, right? Well, fast forward after the 29th, right, of April. Fast forward to May. My car stopped. And when I say suddenly stopped, it was not running. It wouldn't run. And when it did run, within 5 minutes, the steering column would lock up, and I couldn't drive. It would stall itself. Like, it would stall it to the point that it was running, but it wouldn't drive anywhere. And so I was able to luckily get it into the Home Depot parking lot before it completely just shut down. Well, come to find out, the alternator was completely dead. Like, dead to the point that it wasn't coming back. So I had to go get a new alternator for my car. Okay, come to find out also, the battery was dead to the point that beyond repair. Like, a charge wouldn't save it at this point. It was just gone. And so, but luckily for me, my battery was under warranty at my dealership in Austin, right? And by the way, for anybody who lives in Austin, do not go to Kia of South Austin. They are a horrible dealership, and they will screw you over. They fucked me over real bad twice in less than 8 months. Actually, they did it 3 times. They screwed up 3 times in about 8 months. The first time was when they jacked up my car to the point that it didn't run. And then, so I took my battery to the dealership right that evening, and I told them, hey, I am coming in for a battery replacement. I was like, give me an hour and a half or so, and I'll be there, right? So we get there around 5:55 p.m. That, and these SOBs, these sorry sons of guns, this is YouTube, so I'm not going to say what I was going to say, but you know what I mean. They saw me, and mind you, I had a big battery in my hand. I had my old battery in my hand, and I'm walking. We had parked over next to the parts area, right? Um, we walk up to the door. These guys, kid you not, see me walk up, shut the door in my face, and lock it in my face. And I was like, what the F? I'm like, well, long story short, they got a nasty talking to for me and two other people. And, well, I had to go back the next day, got the battery replaced, and it took 30 fucking seconds. Like, I knew the guy, he literally took my old battery, came back 30 seconds later with a new one. And whatever, went back to my car, put it in, and it started back up as if nothing had ever happened, right? And mind you, by this point, the new alternator was already in. I wound up having to replace the belt a couple of days later because I had noticed that there was some severe wear on the alternator belt, and I was like, I'm like, the damage is to the worst, and I'll be driving halfway to a job and that belt just snaps. I was like, I'm not doing that. And plus, it was only an extra like $20, $30 at AutoZone, so I'm like, it wasn't like a hard part to get to. All I had to do was just loosen the tension on the belt, and bada bing, bada boom, it took 30 seconds. The old belt off, remembering how it went back in, remembering how it was set onto the alternator and everything else, and then slipped on the new belt and just retensioned it up. But anyway, so I'm driving home that day, and after I put the battery in, and um, I had stopped at HEB first because I needed some groceries, right? A couple of things for dinner and whatnot for the next couple of days. And I was not 10 minutes away from HEB, and that car just stopped running again. Well, luckily, it had an area to park, right? And so I was able to get in there just in time before the car didn't want to drive anymore. Like, it was running again like the first time, but it just wasn't physically moving from, it wasn't going from point A to point B, right? So I wound up calling a towing company. They billed me $300 for it to get it from Austin to where I am out here in Red Rock, right? And it has not run since. Okay. So, well, first it was like, okay, maybe it's the ECU. So, for those who don't know what an ECU is, right, it's an electrical control unit or electrical control module. And what that is, it's the brain and nervous system of the vehicle, right? So it's like the human body, right? It's the heart for the car, right? Like our heart is literally pumping blood everywhere, right? That's kind of the same thing that the alternator does. It pumps power to the whole entire vehicle. And the battery there is just for whatever reason, right? Now, the electrical control unit or module or the ECU is what sends out electrical messages everywhere, right? And for those who know, when you open your car door and you leave it open and you start putting your key into the ignition, it starts to beep, right? Because the door's still open, right? That's what it's supposed to do. Is have a key start in car, right? But now what it doesn't do is that if you leave the door open, it won't send that signal. There's no sound. It's not even turning on anymore. It doesn't even run. It hasn't run since May, and it's October 31st or and whatnot. It's almost Thanksgiving, and it hasn't run since the middle of May. So at first we thought, okay, it's the ECU. Then it was, it's a voltage regulator, or hey, it's a starter, or it's this or it's that. I'm like, okay, what is it? Because I have a diagnostic tool that's not telling me what it is. And so what I wound up doing is I replaced the ECU, right? And with any ECU, you might have to reprogram it to the car. Luckily, I didn't have to do it with mine. The battery has been replaced, the alternator has been replaced, and the spark plugs had been replaced already at this point. So I knew it couldn't be any of those because those are brand new. There's no reason for, sorry about that. Sorry about these hands. So I'm like, okay, I know it's not any of because those are new, generally new parts. Well, so I replaced the ECU, but it still won't start. But here's where it gets very weird, right? It will not turn on under its own power. But as soon as I put the jump box on it, it starts as if nothing ever freaking. Actually, you know what? Screw this. I'm moving my phone closer. How about that? So y'all can possibly see my face a little bit better without the glare. Okay, there we go. Anyways, so now I know it's not the ECU, because if the ECU needed to be programmed, the car wouldn't start. It wouldn't send that signal to the starter for me to start my car over. So I know it can't be the starter. And there's no reason why it should be the voltage regulator or um so now I'm like, okay, there has to be something wrong electronically. And yes, before anybody starts hounding me about this in the comments, I have pulled all the fuses out of the car. I pulled them all, especially the ones, you know, fuses have a tendency car. As long as you stay on top of it, whatever happens, you should be good. And besides, I had a few months after I'd gotten the car last year. So I'm like, okay, it can't be the fuse. Well, anyways, so if anybody has any recommendations or possible ideas of what could, and possible solutions of what could be the issue, I would greatly let me know in the comments. Um, or then it comes from suggestions and what it could be, or any ideas that it could be, or possibly a solution onto figuring out, or if you actually know what's causing the problem and you know how to fix it, please leave me a message down in the comments, or if you have my number, please text me and be like, hey, I think it's this, and if it works, it works, and I'll greatly appreciate it. So if anybody has any recommendations or anything, or any solutions, please leave a comment down below. As I said, if you have my number, or do all three, I don't care. Um, excuse me. Because I would really love to be able to get this car up and running again, and the sooner the better. Because at this point, I'm pretty sure it has something to do electronically with the engine block. I think what it is that there is some sort of either delay in message, or I wouldn't say delay in message. I think there is a short between section A and section B, or part A and part B. Again, I could be wrong, or it could be more than just a missed message. Um, but if anybody thinks, if anybody knows of anything that could possibly be this problem, let me know, because I'm thinking one of several things. Something to do electronically, that there's either a damaged wire somewhere or something. Two, there's a short. Or three, there's something deeper going on. That's it's something more sinister. Because the last thing I want to do is go spend 15,000 when I can easily fix it for less than 300. You know what I mean? And I don't want. I don't get me wrong. I will call a mobile mechanic if need be, but I only want to call a mobile mechanic as a last resort, because that I don't want to be spending $300 on a mobile mechanic to come out here, equip fix, them to tell me, oh, it's this, and then I had to go spend another 300, wind up spending $600 on mobile mechanic to come out here and run diagnostic or whatnot, and then have to go buy the, buy new wiring to, fix an area of wire that was damaged by either driving or, by, rats or anything that possibly shoot the wires or anything. Um, But if anybody has any ideas, just let me know, because the sooner I can get this car fixed and running again, the sooner I can get rid of it. Because the plan is now is that I tend to get rid of this Kia. For those who don't know, I have a 2016 Kia Forte 1.8 liter 4-cylinder engine Lexus, straight four, automatic, with a 14-gallon tank on it. And she's a gas guzzler. She knows it, but she has really good gas mileage. Um, I've gotten that thing up to nearly 50 miles to the gallon on the road, which is really good considering it's here. Um, yeah. I almost swallowed a piece of hair, and god dang it, my hair's going white. For those who don't know, I did catch a white hair in my hair the other day, a few weeks ago. It was on this side, and I cut it long, some white hair the other day. It was a little concerning. And I was actually surprised I saw it because I have natural blonde hair, and it was standing proud. Um, but for us natural, straight from it's going to go from blonde to silver. And, but uh, but yeah, if anybody has any um recommendations or ideas of what it could be and any possible solutions, please let me know in the comments below. Um, and I know some of you are probably wondering. I've seen this already a little while ago on my arm. This is a new tattoo. It's in Korean, right? From here to here, right? It says, translated, it is after out of hardship comes happiness, or after hardship comes happiness. Um, I got it yesterday. There's this. If anybody's in the Bastrop area, and and you'll know what I mean if you follow my Instagram, my personal Instagram page, which is PFC Hart Dan over on Instagram, my personal one, and my valet, my business account is attached to it. You can find my business and my valet account through my personal account. There's this little tattoo shop over in downtown, right on the edge of downtown Bastrop, off of Chestnut Avenue. It's called Howdy Y'all Tattoo, and it's an old building with the old original actual hardwood flooring, and it's really nice. Um, and it only ran me 150 to get it, which is really good considering that most places will charge you 200, 230. Because the place that I used to go to over in Austin, not that it's in between Austin and Cedar Park, Texas. It's called Atomic Tattoo. They did. I don't know if you can see it really, really well, but they did this tattoo right here, right below my finger, and they also did this one right here, and they did this one, this big guy right here. Not that I have anything against Atomic Tattoo. It's just that where I'm located, it's just not very cost effective to go all the way to almost all the way to Cedar Park to get a new tattoo done. Plus, my tattoo artist that used to work at the Atomic Tattoo that I used to go to, and I loved her. She was an amazing tattoo artist. And she's an Army veteran, and I think the part of the reason I liked her so much is she's an Army veteran like myself, and so we kind of had clicked together. We had that in common and whatnot, and um, when I first got the tattoo and then the touch up, she and I had some amazing conversations. Um, but personally, it is just not it's not cost effective. It's not really financially worth going all the way out there and spending $200. $300-400 to get there and back by Uber plus paying for the tattoo. So it's just not financially worth it at this time. I mean, if my car was running and everything, I would have definitely gone up there yesterday. But but if y'all if you're in the Bastrop area and you're looking for a good local small tattoo shop, I would highly recommend that y'all check out Howdy Y'all Tattoo, in Bastrop. They did, they're really, really good. They're a small 3-man crew. At least there's 3 hour tattoo guys there when I went yesterday. And there's a couple of restaurants, plenty of shops back there, especially this time of year if you're looking for Christmas present ideas. There's a smoke shop. There's also another smoke shop, and then right next door to it is this other place. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. but it has um, handmade stuff, pretty cool. Like, they have, a lot of cool stuff like necklaces, stuff, sun hats, sunglasses, gemstones, some handmade cowhide, cup host, not cup holsters, coasters, um, some books. I think some for those who are Catholic and pray and use candles while they pray, or if you're another or if you're Muslim or Catholic or Buddhist and you need prayer candles, they have more than enough. They got a really good supply of them. Um, and they got fuzzy winter socks as well. I think also like some books, um, and glass, like margarita glasses and stuff like that. So it's a nice little shop. There's also kind of a sports bar slash restaurant place as well. It's called Old Town Restaurant. It's over there on Chestnut Avenue. Really good food, really good priced. I went to the fish with hush puppies and fries, and I'd also gotten fried pickles to start because I'm like, screw it, why not? Um, and the fried catfish, and this is also on my Instagram page as well. I honestly, the fried catfish was very, very good. I wasn't expecting it to be really, really good. I was like, okay, these people are gonna overcook it, and it's gonna be dry. It's not gonna taste good, but it actually was really, really. It practically fell apart in my hand, which is a good sign. It was very, very well seasoned. It wasn't overly spicy, but it wasn't very underly seasoned. It was that perfect medium. And for those who are like me who love to eat fried catfish, fried tilapia, you just have this sense of good fried food, especially when it comes to fish. It was really good. The hush puppies were really, really good. I'm not a big fan of hush puppies personally. Again, I don't have anything against hush puppies. It's just that I personally don't have. I'm not a big fan of them personally, you know. But I'll still eat them because why not? It came with the meal, so I didn't care. Um, but yeah. Sorry about that. Anyways, um, but yeah, yeah. I just wanted to give an update because I know I've been off. Happy Halloween, and just be safe. Don't do nothing stupid, folks. Um, have a dozen. If you're going to go out partying and drinking, for those who are 21 and over, if you're going to be out drinking, make sure you either get an Uber or a Lyft home, or at least have a designated driver. Please do not do anything stupid today. As my company commander used to say, do not add to the population. Do not from the population. If you do not wind up in the hospital, the newspaper, or prison, jail, and if you do land up in prison, establish dominance immediately. And for those who were in the military and have had that kind of safety brief, you know what I mean when I say that. Um, all of my company commanders used to say that almost. Um, Since my first sergeant career, her name was First Sergeant Yolanda Strobridge, and she was an amazing first sergeant, one of the best ones I ever had in my 3 years that I was in. She defended us because her and our committee commander, her name was Captain Jennifer Anchetta. Um, to everybody out there, they were mom. Like to us, they were mom, and they were pretty much our parents. They took they defended us, whatnot, and made sure that we were squared away. Because perfect example, right? I remember I had this master sergeant in my next door unit because I was checking my HIMMET. And for those who don't know what HIMMET is, it is a 2,500 gallon tank fueling vehicle, right, with a FS system, the filter separator system in the rear of the vehicle. Um, And one day, it was about mid morning or something, and I was checking my truck. I was checking the back end of my truck because all our HEMTs and everything, or because all our HEMTs were on the fence, on one fence. If you're looking into our motor pool, all the HEMTs were on the right side, right with the TRMs, our tank rag modules. First, it was the TRMs, the tank rag modules. Those are again 2,500 gallon gravity fed uh, um, fueling trailers, right? And they always stayed on what are on the trucks, on the trailers, excuse me. And there were six of those, and then past that was six more HEMTs, the 2,500 gallon tanks, um, next to each other at all times because it was just easy. And every truck had an assigned, every HEMT had an assigned um, TRM. So, well, one day I was checking my HEMT because I needed to do something. I was just checking to make sure it was good. Or I think we were about to issue, but I was checking it. And I hear this voice behind me saying, "Hey, Hart." And I snapped around because anybody that's had somebody say hey, their last name knows to just snap around trying to figure out who the heck it is. And then I realized it was a master sergeant across the fence. He was like, "Hey, pass over the hose real quick. I need fuel." And anybody that's anybody, especially fuelers, will tell you handling a 4-inch hose. And when I say 4-inch hose, this thing is 4 inches in diameter. This thing is freaking, and it's dry rotted because I mean, so worked with it. It was the outer layer was cracked, which is normal when you're dealing with rubber. It dries out over time, um, and it's heavy. Even without fuel in the line, it's still pretty flippin' heavy. Especially when you got the fuel handle on it, which we call the donkey dig. Don't ask me why we call it the donkey dig. We just did. And I looked at him. I was like, no. Mind you, I never say no. I very rarely, if ever, do it unless it's because I knew right then and there. As soon as he said, I'm like, okay, that's first off a violation of AR or Army regulation, and is it in an absolute disrespect and disregard of the Fueler's Bible, what we call the Fueler's Bible. Don't ask me. We just call it the Fueler's Bible, okay? Even the 92 Limas, which is our fuel testers, they even call it's pretty much a book of standards and regulations that fuelers have to abide by. And we call it the Fueler's Bible because we live by that. There's also another running joke that says a fueler is never a fueler until they get baptized in fuel. And that means head to toe in fuel, covered head to toe in fuel. And that stuff smells. And you're very, very, very flammable. Believe me, I know. I got doused in one day, twice in one day. And I told him, no. He's like, soldier, I'm giving you the director. I was like, and I'm telling you, fuck no. I was like, if you want fuel, and excuse my language, I was like, if you want effing fuel, you can bring your stuff over here and I'll issue you fuel. But I'm like, I'm not going to pass you nothing over nothing to give you fuel. I'm like, that's first off a direct violation of Army regulation. Two, that's against the Fueler Bible. And three, that's a safety hazard. Because there's a concertina wire over this freaking fencing. I'm like, if this hose busts, we're gonna have a massive fuel spill, and I'm not gonna deal with that. I do not want to have. It's like Hart, you don't blankety yeah, hose over here. I'm going blankety go tell your commander. I'm like, a company commander's in her freaking office. Go flip and talk to her. I was like, she's going to tell you the exact same thing I'm telling you. I'm not giving you nothing until you bring your stuff over here. I'll tell you, you can bring your jerry cans or your or whatever you need fuel for. You can bring it over here like everybody else. But I'm not giving you nothing until you bring your stuff over here around the fence and bring it over. I'm like, it's not that hard to do it. You're right next door, literally right next door. You can get over here. It's just like, I'm like, you got two working ladies. Bring your junk over and I'll issue you fuel. I'm not giving you fuel. I'm issuing you fuel. I'm like, because we have to have accountability of all the fuel we give out. So, well, about 5-10 minutes later, I get a call from my company commander. He's just like, hey, Hart, what are you doing? I was like, As I beeline, and so, lo and behold, Master Sergeant sitting in the office. First Sergeant Strobridge is in the office. Company commander. We're all in the company commander's office, right? And she was like, "Hart, can you explain to me what happened? Can you tell me your side of the story?" So I told her what happened. She told the Master Sergeant to get the F out of my office. He's like, "But I need fuel." She's like, She's like, he had every right to refuse you fuel because you were asking something impossible of him to do, and he had every right to not issue you fuel. If you want fuel, you can bring your junk over here. And mind you, she didn't say junk. She said some very colorful words saying that she said, "You get the blanket in my office. If you want blanket fuel, bring your blanket stuff over here, and we'll issue you fuel, but you're not going to tell one of my fuelers to do something morally, unethically, and wrong, and also that's in direct violation of the Army regulation and in direct violation of their rules." He was like, "But I need fuel." He was like, "What do you mean?" She was like, "You're asking him to do something that could seriously get him seriously injured, cause a massive fuel spill." And she's like, "He's a fueler. He has to abide by a certain regulation. He has more regulations that he has to abide by." She's like, and I agreed with her because yes, everybody in the military has to abide by the Army regulation. Like, man, my phone doesn't play this game with me. But anyways, but yeah, if anybody can give me any suggestions on what to do about the car, please, let me know. And everybody have a happy Halloween and happy holidays. I will see y'all next